Welcome to Jan's Views, a place where I share my views and listen to yours. Whether you are here for my artwork, live streams, shorts, or just for the giggles, please be assured I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that you will enjoy your time here on my channel. I would be eternally grateful if you would give a like to the video, consider subscribing and, dare I ask, even become a member. So without further ado, let's do this.
So, without further ado, let's do this, guys. How the hell are you? It's still Halloween, isn't it? Theoretically. So, this is my my Halloween setting. Isn't it fun? Yeah, I really like it. I want to be there, but with that sign there, it looks like not everyone's invited. So, what do you reckon? Do you reckon we'll be allowed in there? It's nice to see you all. I hope you're all well. Hi, Bridge. Yeah, we are a little bit later, aren't we? I usually totally miss Wednesdays, but I'm almost home to catch this. Goody. Always nice to have you in here, darling. Moosey, yeah. Hi, even. Hey, hi. Oh, I'm glad you like this setting. And here we have Bridge. I've done it wrong. I've done it. Let me start this all over again. What an absolutely rubbish introduction that was. I do apologize. Edna, who will be coming up to join me as we just chat, because it's Wellness Wednesday. That's what Wellness Wednesday is all about, isn't it, guys? We don't talk drama. We just chill, chew the fat. We've got a couple of things in mind to discuss, because I think everybody, when we talk about this subject, people seem to, enjoy it and like to take part in it. So yeah, we've kind of decided we're going to be talking mental health again today. I think it's very important that we do discuss mental health, and also, if you're willing to share anything, fine. This is a safe place for us, guys. We don't have trolls. Well, we get the occasional one, but then they get booted pronto. Don't they, Edna? They get booted out. Hello, darling. I hope you're well.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
I love the way whenever Edna comes in, she always seems to come in mid-conversation. It's like, oh, there she is. Yeah, so Edna and I designed this, actually, didn't we? Well, kind of. This was
Well,
a
I
different.
was on the phone while you were doing it.
Yeah, Edna was on the phone while I was doing it. Oh, did you not show me? Oh, okay. But we had such a giggle, didn't we? And I've
We
actually
did.
used this setting on one of my other live streams or my videos that I like to do, Jan's chats, but without the Halloweeny bits and pieces. So
Nice.
hi, Marley. I hope you're well, sweetness. It's a good day today, is it? Do you want to share it with us? Share with us why it's a good day. It's always nice when people say
Yeah.
it's a good day. Have you had a good
You know
day?
what? I have. It has been I don't want to say challenging even. It's just been kind of like one of those days in a sense where, sometimes you go out and it's like you wake up on the right side of the bed and everything just falls into place and it's ta-da. It wasn't really one of those days, but it was pretty good. I got everything accomplished and
Good,
really no complaints. Yeah, I picked
good.
up, went to the pharmacy, so I took a walk there and it's been really cold. But I
Mm,
think it got to a high of like 45 or so today. So I
mhm.
took advantage of that.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Um,
that is in Celsius. I apologize.
yeah, I know. Not a clue. I've not got a clue, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah, it's
No.
it's cooled down a lot here. Apparently, we're expecting a what do they call that? A storm. My head's all over the place. Yeah, all over the place. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so we're expecting a storm. tonight through
Mhm.
till tomorrow. I'm keeping my fingers crossed it's not going to be too bad. But to be fair, it's nothing like you Americans suffer. Honestly, I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know how you live with your climate.
Yeah,
So barley.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so she's put it, it's very important, very, it is not spoken enough about. So you're talking about mental health. Yeah, I agree with you. And I
Mhm.
know Edna agrees with you. And we're both very open about our mental health and, quite happy to talk about it. Um, and I think it's quite good that we live in an age where it's acceptable to talk about it now. Um,
Right.
whereas,
Well, I
back
think
in
it's gotten to the point where we can't deny it any longer, where
mm,
it's like smacking us in the face.
yeah, yeah. And there's certain cultures that don't agree with it. Um, even to this day, there's certain cultures that will not discuss mental health or mental health
Hmm.
issues, even if they can see that a family member is struggling, they will not acknowledge it. Put it that way. Um, there's certain countries. The one I'm thinking of specifically is African countries. They're not very good at accepting it,
Yeah. There's a
acknowledging it.
doctor I follow on YouTube who has ADHD, and he's African, and he talked about how I think he was diagnosed or whomever like caught it or diagnosed or like suggested maybe he should be in treatment or get tested or what have you, and they just tried to like pray it away or so. It's really sad
Yeah, it is. Um, there's something.
because it
Oh
doesn't
no,
go
that's.
away.
I was going to say I do know that. When with the COVID, with some people it affected them mentally, and
Yeah.
some people. A lot of people, I would say, are probably not aware of it. I mean, we were all given a list of symptoms that we
Hmm.
needed to check, and sort of tick off. Oh, yeah, it must be COVID because you've got the sore throat, or you've got the cough, or you've got this. But I
Right.
know sort of firsthand that that's not the only symptoms. They weren't the only symptoms, and one of them was you could actually become delirious, with it.
Oh,
Uh,
I hadn't heard that.
yeah, yeah, and have to be
Hmm.
treated in a hospital. I mean, I'm not gonna share, any, uh, personal information, but I do know for a fact that there are,
Mhm.
it did affect some people in that way. Um,
Okay. I
so,
heard about, like, the mental fog or, like, just
yeah.
kind of just kinda being out of sorts, but, I didn't know that it can actually create, delirium. That's
Yes, yeah.
COVID's really scary. My grandma, I was talking to her today, she's 94, I believe, and she told me that she's, recovering from COVID and the
Alright.
flu. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" She's like, "No, I'm fine. I just had it, like a sore throat." She's vaccinated and everything. That woman is like, so amazing. I wanna be like her when I grow up.
When you grow up.
Yeah.
Some may say that somebody in their 30s should be grown up, Edna.
Mm. No, I'm still working on it.
Yes,
Yeah,
Bridge,
I've always said that.
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think I heard oh, okay, hallucination. Hmm.
Yeah, some people did have hallucinations. Um, so I thought, let's talk about mental health.
Right.
And for me, the importance of acknowledging mental health. I think there are still
Mhm.
people who don't acknowledge it, not only in others, but also in themselves. And I think if you acknowledge it, then you're at least going towards, if you acknowledge something, then you can get help for it. Whereas if you don't acknowledge
Right.
it, then you won't get help for it. And I think it's important.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's actually worse than that because like with untreated mental illness, it's not just that, you're just kind of like it like you're really in suffering, right? Like cuz
Mm,
it's you're in the mental state of suffering, but also you're suffering because like nobody knows what's going on. Like me
mm,
personally, I found a lot of comfort in, finding different communities of people who are like me. So if like that are like known or whatever, right? And
yeah.
so it's like when I'm talking to them, we're not talking about like all our issues or whatever. It's not a trauma dump situation,
Mm,
but it's just an understanding that we're on the same page where it's like a base understanding where we know what each other's like coming from when we're talking about different things. So it's like a deeper understanding.
yeah. I think that's what's so good about YouTube is that there's a channel about just about anything. So if you just
Yes.
put in your YouTube browser mental health, so much will come up and you can learn so much about it. And uh, and also if doctors, which quite often they do nowadays, if they do live streams, that's even better. And the
Yes,
chats in those live streams are phenomenal. Everybody
they
supports each
are.
other. And that I wanted to talk in particular about this channel that I watch, and it's called. He's called. Oh, I've lost the name. Something to do with narcissism. I forgot what it's called. But anyway, his
It looks
name
like the
is
title is Midweek with Dr. C. Narcissists don't think in normal terms.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's the name of this particular video, although it could be a live stream. Um, but what I
Okay.
like about this guy is he does lives on a Wednesday, and I was tuning in actually to him. Let's just see what his name is. I'm blooming rubbish at this. Sorry about this, guys. Let's let's see what his name is. Surviving Narcissism. That's it. That's what
Oh,
he's
okay.
which I think is a bit. He should just call himself. I don't know. But yeah, so this guy I like to listen to. Now, if you have a look here, guys, you'll see all the people in the chat. And what I like is, oh, I've lost it. Okay, let's see. Let's move to there and see if it comes up. Yeah.
Oh,
Now
there you go.
everybody sort of talks to each other and, talks about what's going on in their life, but it's not a trauma dump. It's people
Mhm.
trying to um help other people. It's like this person, obviously this doctor, he talks predominantly about narcissism. Okay. Now, and you get people sharing their stories. It's like this person here. They threw me under the bus when I told them politely what they are doing. Um, Looks like he may have added a bit more there. Um, and then you'll find that people will actually respond. I don't know how to make this bigger, so you'll just have to bear with me. Um, right, let's see. I don't need to do that. Get out of there. So yeah, I've been in there. Um, okay, like here, this person said, Dr. C is talking about an experience I've had, and I know most of us have had. Yeah, so
Mm.
it's quite interesting. So what I thought we would do is just have a listen, see if we agree with what he says, and just hear what he's got to say. I think, I mean, there are other people. There's another woman who there's a doctor who's a woman who does about narcissism. Um, and but I don't know, I got a bit fed up with her in the end. But I like this guy. I think
Oh, are you
he
talking
knows.
about Dr. Ramini or
I can't
Ramini or something?
remember. Can't remember what her name was.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, let's go back and put him on to full screen again. Right. Okay. So let's hear what he's got to say. And if anyone's got
Oh, do
anything
we
to
wanna
say,
look at the chat?
yeah. What have we got going on there?
'Cause
Um,
Valley's talking about her parents. Oh,
I'm happy
okay, yeah.
to see you. I hug you very. Oh, that's lovely, Barley. You're always
That's
welcome
so
in here,
sweet.
darling. Oh, you've seen him. Oh, and Moose has seen him as well. Okay, so Barley says both my parents are narcissists. I also read a lot about it. It made me understand my parents, and I realized my
Hmm.
mum, especially, is toxic, and I blocked her from my life. Okay, yeah, that's sad. You know, it's sad that you've had to go through that, Barley. But I think um, you need to, and I'm sure you're aware because you've obviously noticed it or recognized it, and you've done something positive about it, which is the best
Mhm.
thing you could do. You know, you can't really change somebody, especially not a narcissist. All you can do is change your behavior towards that narcissist. I have a question. What is the difference between sharing your problem and trauma dumping? I think, in my opinion, I'll give my opinion first, and then Edna can give hers. In my opinion, I think trauma dumping is something that happens repeatedly, and it happens to the point where then they're not really interested in what other people are saying. It's all about getting everything out about them,
Mhm.
and not really participating in a conversation with somebody. It's just about literally getting all their trauma and dumping it onto somebody else. That's my definition. What's your definition, Edna?
I agree. I would just maybe add that it like there's one thing to kind of talk about a topic, but to like go in depth to the point where like when you get to a level where like I'll never forget, like I met a new friend online. This was very early in like my girl world, whatever. And we're in a Discord, we're talking, and I'm introducing them. And within that little short interaction, they unloaded so much about themselves that all we could say was, "Wow, like, I'm sorry that you're going through that, and maybe you should talk to, like, a qualified person," right?
Yeah,
Like, it's I feel like it's very apparent, like, when I'm in a situation and someone is trauma dumping because you feel like you're being traumatized. It's a lot to take in.
yeah. Oh, so you look at it as if the person that's hearing it is going to suffer trauma from hearing it. Is that what you're saying?
That's kinda how I feel because that's the dumping
Oh,
of the
that's
trauma. It's like
interesting.
you're affecting like, that's how I take it where yeah, because it's like, other than that, it's the same thing, it's just talking, you know what I mean? Like, where does it cross the line from? Because we have our triggers, right? And we have trigger
Yeah.
warnings, and it's like, "Can I hear about a certain topic?" And you go from, like, hearing about it to before it like, the feelings are so intense that it's like you're almost experiencing or reliving the trauma with them. And I feel like that's where it goes into
Oh,
like,
okay.
the dumping side.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Um, so that's what I like about you, Edna. So you definitely look at things differently to the way I do. That's really interesting. I'll have to think about that. So Bridge says, I found that guy after I found out I was in a relationship with a diagnosed narcissist. Okay.
Wow.
And Barley says, sharing problem and talking about it is good. We can learn. Trauma dumping equals just taking just about, oh, talking just about oneself and asking for pity. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Barley
That's
says, oh,
good
just
too,
so
yeah.
sad. Right. So Bridge says, I think trauma dumping are people looking for sympathy. I think I read that somewhere. Yeah. I think
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's why, when I said it's about just sort of dumping it onto somebody, there's gotta be a reason why
Mhm.
it's called dumping though, hasn't there? So,
Yeah. Well,
instead of
it's
sort
like
of
you're not taking into the other person's, like, capacity to take on that information, where I mean, I think some people think it's, like, being too sensitive or woke or what have you, but I don't think there's anything wrong for, like, having consent for having certain conversations. Like, I like to, like, just check in with people like, "Hey, are you down for a phone call?" Or, "Can we talk about this, X, Y, and Z?" It doesn't have to be a big thing. But, sometimes you don't wanna be, like, blindsided with a whole conversation about whatever it might be.
Yeah, I wonder if that's part of it, because it sounds like, the story you were just saying, that it was inappropriate. That time was inappropriate for him to dump his, you know, everything
Right.
onto
Like, it was
everybody.
it was just kinda like, "Whoa, we're just hanging out." Like, that's a
Yeah.
little serious for right now. Yeah, absolutely.
And you do get people that do that, don't you? I've met people. I'm sure we've all met people. It's a bit like if you meet somebody at the bus stop. I mean, I don't do
Mm.
buses anymore, but when you meet somebody, I tell you, I
Jen, I
was
don't drive,
shopping.
so I
I
know
was
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was shopping, a while ago, and, I'll talk to anyone because I'm a friendly type and, and I just like to, interact with people. So anyway, I was in this aisle and there was a woman there who couldn't reach. Now I'm 5'6", 5'6" and a
Mm.
half, and she must have been like 4 foot nothing or 5 foot nothing. And, so
Hey,
she said, "Oh,
Jen.
would you mind kindly getting that for me?" So I said, "Yeah, no problem."
Right.
So as I picked it up, I mean, she was elderly, and, I
Mhm.
picked it up for her, so I said, "So are you having a good day? Is it" and she went, "Oh my God." She went off and off. I knew all about her kids, I knew all about her grandkids, I knew about the son that wasn't well, I knew about the son that went into the army. Honestly, I couldn't get away from this woman.
While
It
you're
was
in the aisle? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And it was like, now, would that be described as trauma dumping? I don't know. I just think, uh, I don't know, but I
I
remember
think
thinking, how
so.
the hell am I going to get out of here? How the hell am I going to get out of this shop?
You know
Yeah,
what?
sorry
I
about that
say,
bridge.
"Excuse me." I say, "Excuse me, I don't mean to cut you off, but I gotta go," you know? I
um,
don't have the patience to deal with people, like, not to be mean, but yeah.
yeah. See, I think I'm quite open, but I don't trauma dump on people. Yeah, that's just no, I don't. Um, so as Moosey says, so it's only with trusted friends, not strangers in a chat room or bus stop. Do you know that's quite interesting because I think some people do trauma dump. It's like that woman in that shop. I heard everything and how she was going into
Mhm.
an operation next week and then this and this and then and that. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
good grief. So I think that
But,
was a
that
trauma
doesn't
dump.
surprise. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me though, because I feel like especially, being post um pandemic where,
Yeah.
we're so isolated and everything, like people still haven't rebuilt their social connections. Like people have
Mm,
passed away or, moved, things have just changed.
yeah.
So like I can tell that people like you say hi and they light up, it's a
Yeah.
different world.
It's like I was saying, I think in the live stream I did yesterday. I love to feel that because there are some people that don't see anybody else and they're only
Yeah.
um I can't think of the word interaction is with people that they see in the street, and I
Mhm.
think it's also, I mean, getting to YouTube, I think there's also YouTubers whose only interaction is when they sit in front of the camera, even if they're behind an avatar, it doesn't matter. It's
Mhm.
some kind of reaction, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. Um, but yeah, it's quite interesting that the trauma dumping it's the word dumping I'm sort of looking in. Yeah,
Okay.
as Wilmo says, loneliness is our epidemic these days. Excuse me. I think I agree with you, but I think also it's got something to do with mental. It's mental loneliness, and I think there's a difference. There's a difference
Yeah.
to somebody who never leaves their home, who never speaks to anybody, who has no interaction whatsoever with the public. And then there's somebody that does do all that, but still feels very lonely in themselves. But I think, that could be some kind of mental illness that. I mean, we can talk
Yeah,
about
well,
that.
I think it's about meaningful interactions though, because
Mhm.
you could be around people all day or at work or what have you, and if you're not really connecting with people, you're
Yeah,
still gonna be lonely,
that's right.
but you're not
Yeah,
alone. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Barley says there is a man I met in the pub. He's not very healthy and over the age of 60. He's nice and his wife is sick and can't get out of bed. He asked me to help clean his house. Should I or better not? Mm. Have you met the wife? That's what I
He
would
has
say
more.
to begin with. Have you met the wife? Do you know for a fact that there is a wife in the house? Cover all your bases as far as being safe there. Um, right, what's this other bit? He's an African American, but that is irrelevant. I think he needs help. Or you think it's not good for me to do because he's a stranger and not really my friend. Um, well, you know where
Rich, is he
I'm coming
paying?
from.
That's what I'm saying. Because is this voluntary? There's maybe a program that can maybe help in the community or a church or something. But oh, Bally's
Okay.
responded.
Okay. This is interesting. Okay. Chat, give your opinions on this because this is quite interesting. No, the wife needs to be fed by him, and so it's a fact people have confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Mm. Right, let me go back to what you said. Has he actually asked you to do it? He asked me to help clean his house.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting bad vibes there. What say you, chat? What say you, Edna? I'm getting bad vibes because I think if a man, and it doesn't matter if it's African American, whatever, Indian,
Mhm.
Chinese, it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. The issue is that he is asking you to do something that one, you should be paid for, and two, if she is so severely disabled, why is she not getting help for it? Why is he not getting help for it? That's what I would ask.
Right, because if she's disabled, she should maybe, well, I can't say that she should, like, I don't know for a fact, but maybe she qualifies for, there's a program here where you can have a family member or a friend take care of you. So I don't know if you can do that with a spouse, but, and they can be paid to to be a caregiver. So maybe that's
Yeah.
something that he can look into. That's
Yeah,
really bold. Like, I understand that people need help,
I think
but
it
that's
is very
extremely
bold.
bold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not getting good vibes about it, Barley. Um, I just think, we have to be careful. And also be realistic. Why is he asking you? Why has he asked you? Um,
You listen, Jan, I will share that I've helped a man, with no money or whatever. Like one of my neighbors, I just casually met him. Long story short, I saw that he needed help, so I offered, and I just helped him like organize his apartment. Like he had just moved, and it was a mess, and I knew that he had like a young daughter, so I'm like, that's a death trap. The way,
yeah.
like nothing's put up or whatever. So I felt as just able-bodied person that doesn't mind organizing or what have you. I don't mind going over and helping them for a couple of hours. And, of course, I didn't expect anything out of it. It didn't lead to like a friendship or anything, which I wasn't expecting either. But like, I would just say that be careful because that's abnormal behavior. So he might be like in an abnormal state. So, you make sure, like, of course, like Steve or somebody knows exactly where you are, like just take precautions. But if you if you want to help and it's not a problem for you to go over and do so, I think it's a lovely thing to do for someone, but you just want to be careful that you don't get taken advantage of in any way.
And I want to sort of liken the two things together, and I feel that, or compare the two. And I think the major issue with your story and Barley's is that he was your neighbour. You knew where he lived. You saw him.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm not saying that made it completely safe, but I do feel that if you know where he is and you knew he had a child, I still think it's a bit dodgy, to be honest. But uh,
Yeah.
I think, just some random dude in the pub asking you, no, I wouldn't get good vibes from that. So Barley says he drives an electric car. His wife cannot move, but for over 10 years he does this. I'm sure he takes money for what you said, and he spends it
He
in the
does
pub.
this.
Well, then I would say,
Oh, got you.
yeah, I wouldn't get involved, Barley. Honestly, I wouldn't. I am nice. I cooked food and brought the old men food, 3 of them. I like to do this. I think, like in Romania, we give food to respect the dead. You're giving it to the
Mhm.
dead, actually, that you miss. Yeah, and I can understand that. I
Mhm.
know in some cultures that, cooking for somebody else, and I know I know for a fact, in the Muslim community, they love to cook for other people. I live next door to one of my besties now. She's one of my besties, and she's from Pakistan. And the first thing
Mhm.
she's always trying to cook for me. They always like to cook. They're I think it's their way of showing love. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And it's a bit
Right.
like like Brits, we would bring in like a bouquet of flowers or a bottle of wine. But I think in some cultures, it's about feeding. It's about wanting to prepare food for somebody. So I do get that. Bridge has just
Right.
woken up. Oh, you met him in the pub. I'd say no. Yeah, I would say no. Barley, does your husband know about it? Has he asked you in front of your husband? Or is this like a clandestine? I love that word. Clandestine
What does it
request.
mean?
Clandestine means secretive. That's the
Ooh.
best word for it. Is that your word of the week? I want you to use it,
It
Edna. I want you
it
to
is.
use
Okay, say it again so I can get the pronunciation. Clandestine?
clandestine. Yeah. Put it in there,
Clandestine. I'm gonna
Google
use
it and
it.
see what it says. It means like
Yeah.
if you have a clandestine meeting with somebody, it's very sort of secretive and um,
Ooh, I'm
it
excited. I'm gonna use it.
yeah, it's a bit like hang on a minute. Yeah, it's a bit like this. See, this could be like a clandestine meeting for all these people that love, love Halloween. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, Steve knows it all, but he doesn't care too much. It's not his interest. He just said never to cheat on him. That is normal when married. I no, I would disagree with Steve there. I would say that, well, not disagree with him. I would, how can I word this? I think as a husband, one of his duties, if you like, or one of his roles is to
Mhm.
look after his wife. And if she's in a pub and she's been invited uh, by another gentleman to go into his home to clean. I think I don't think many men would be happy with that, Barley. That's what I'll say
Yeah,
about
he should like, if it does happen, he should maybe go with you for the first couple of times.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Let his
I'm just
presence
getting
be
bad vibes
known.
from it. Sorry, Edna. What did you say, darling?
Look, I was just gonna say, yeah, definitely Steve should let his presence be known, because if she's a single woman in the pub, like I was listening to her live earlier, and she mentioned that Steve doesn't like to go out. So I'm thinking maybe Steve wasn't there. And,
Mm,
I don't know what this man is thinking, but, you
yeah.
know.
I think, I mean, you're in Ohio, aren't you? Now, listen, I watch a lot of crime, true crime, and I tell you what, a hell of a lot happens in Ohio. For goodness sake, all right, open your eyes. Excuse me.
I know I can be naive.
What is
So
this?
it's
What is this? Steve is never with me. I go alone. No. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to shout there. I'm sorry. Barley. Barley. Please. No. No. No.
okay, it looks like the consensus is maybe not Valley. Rethink it a little.
I feel so bad to see people that have no help. I was in this situation and I know how hard life can be when you don't have a hand that reached out to help. No one pays my drinks. Never. Okay. I need to cough. Answer that, please.
Okay. Well, I would say that it might seem a little harsh, but we make the like in many ways we make the bed that we lie in.
Yeah.
And if we try, there is some help. Like there are people that care. So it might not need to be you, Bally. You might be the one, like, that he needs help. So your help might be, you're on the internet looking to resources in Ohio that can maybe assist him.
Yes. That's it. Barley, I think that there's so many red flags here. And I think sometimes um you need to pay attention to them. Um,
Yeah. It can
think
be hard when you're wearing rose-colored glasses to see the red flags, though.
yeah, and do you know what, Barley? It's not just about helping people. I'm sure all of us in here, in our little corner, we would all love to help people. We do help people. I help people. Um,
Mhm.
but you have to be realistic and see what's happening. So it sounds like you've given this man your phone number. So he's phoning you and asking you to go to the pub. No, it's not looking good, darling. Um, so you own 2 bars. For me, it's normal. No, it's not normal, darling. It's not normal. I grew up in
Mhm.
bars. You meet good people and bad. Yes, you do. But there's a difference between being in a bar, having the safety of your place of work, and being friendly and chatty to the people that come into the bar, to
Mhm.
being what do they call it? A customer in a bar, which is what you are when you go into this bar, a single female, right? I mean, single as in you go in on your own. You don't have your husband with you. Now, this man probably wonders why you don't have your husband with you. Okay. Now, he could well have said to you, "Oh, why doesn't your husband come with you?" And you could say, "Oh, well, he doesn't really like pubs." Now, in my opinion, that's quite an unusual setting. That's quite an unusual situation to be in. I could be talking
But
out of
see,
my back.
with me, I can understand, Steve being autistic, Valley shared. That's just not his thing. Like I'm not a club person. You know what I mean? Like it's too loud, it's smelly, it's this, that. I've been in a club a handful of times. And so I get that it might not be anything other than he really just doesn't like to be in there. And Valley has it. That's her second home. She owns 2 bars, so she feels comfortable there. Like I totally get the dynamic. But Jan, I agree with you. It doesn't change the fact that you don't know like what his true intentions or motives are. People do crazy things, Valley, and
Yeah, they do.
yeah, you never know.
Yeah, and that Barley sort of saying that, she's used to being friendly in bars and everything. Please listen to, what I just said. There's a difference in being in a pub or a club, or not a club, a place of work where you work. Um, and having that safety net. Whereas once you come out of that place, it's a different world. You've taken yourself out of the safety of the pub, and you're now going to go into a setting that you don't know what it's really going to be like. You don't know that. Now, had you have said
Yeah.
that your husband was there and you were chatting and everything, you were all talking together, right? And then the guy sort of mentioned about what a hard job he has looking after his wife and blah de blah de blah. And then it had got to the situation where you'd said, "Oh, do you know what? If you do you have any help?" And if the guy had said no, and you said, "Well, I don't mind coming around and helping you out a bit." That's a big difference to a man in a bar who is giving you the old sob story and then asking you to come to his home to help look after his wife. There's a big sob story. There's a big difference. And I also think, as I said before, if the wife is that bad, they should be getting help anyway. Okay?
Mhm.
They must be getting help somewhere. That's what I would say. Um, right, okay. People see I like to drink, and I say Steve doesn't like to go out. Now, listen, I'm going to be honest, Barley. When you go out, all right, do you get drunk? So, do you go out on your own and get drunk? That's what I'm going to ask you because, we've got to be frank here. We've got to be honest here.
Yeah.
I like
Well, and
fun.
I understand that balance.
I am sweet, funny, and nice. They are not
Mhm.
slimy. They enjoy to have met me, and they say I am kind. Okay. Mm,
But the
okay.
thing is, people will take advantage of your kindness. Like I'm, I'm just talking to strangers on the internet, right? But I could tell that it's just they're on a different, like we're not on the same wavelength, and it's like it's fine in this setting, but this is not somebody that I would really be a friend with or that I would talk to on the phone or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like certain different like platforms and certain different, like you said, like meeting him in the pub and talking and having a drink and having fun and socializing, that's different than being in his home in a different where you're like you don't have the control, you don't know what's going on, where like people will like have a whole like dungeon in their basement and like there's crazy things and you don't know like how strong this man really might be if he's in a chair and what have you, like just because he's in a chair doesn't necessarily mean that he needs a chair or I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I think, Barley, we're all trying to sort of protect you here and give you sound advice. That sounds like very good advice. Now, I don't want you to think because some people are really hypersensitive and I can be very blunt. I don't want you to think that I think badly of you, Barley. I don't think badly of you. Honestly, I don't. I think sometimes you can be a bit lost and I've written long comments under some of your videos for that reason. Now, I'm a lot older than you, and believe me, I haven't always behaved myself, okay? I know I know a lot about bars, and I know a lot about being a female that goes into a bar, okay? Um, Let me just answer this first. Honestly, I cannot get drunk anymore. It's very hard. I don't get drunk. Stay a lady. Good. I'm glad about that. Listen,
Nice.
there's nothing wrong in going out and getting drunk. Okay. Years ago, when I left my first husband, I was in my, what was I? I was in my 30s. Yeah, middle to late 30s. And I'd been in like the relationship for 15 years and I had 3 kids and they used to go and stay with their dad at the weekend. And I tell you what, I had a whale of a time. I used to go to the same bar, and that was like where I felt safe. Now I started going with a friend who was in a similar situation, and we used to have a whale of a time. We got to know a lot of the punters in there, and we just had a great time. And yeah, there were times when I got a little bit, pissed, um, but I would never. Let me put this right. I would never ever accept any invitation from a man in the pub.
Mm.
Because they see you as a single person. Even if you walk in and there's two girls, or three women together, there are men out there that will what's the word? Exploit that and will prey on that. Okay, put it that way. Now, I'm not saying that this guy is necessarily like that. We don't know. We don't know him from Adam. But all we can say is that what you've told us so far, there's so many red flags flying around. I could literally grab one now. Um, so I just feel I don't know which type of area you live in, whether it's in the sticks, as we call it over here. But I think as a single female, and when you go out, you are going out as a single female. Okay. So when you're walking through the door, you're walking in on your own as a female. Okay. Now, whether you say, "Oh, I've got my husband at home," or not, it makes no difference to people. That makes no difference. So I think the thing that worries me is that when you say, I've lost the plot," because I looked at the chat. There's so many things. I know that you're very open, but I feel oh yeah, when you said they see that I like to have a good time. Now, that again is a red flag. How do you have a good time? How do you have a good time in a bar as a female? Answer that. It doesn't matter if you have a ring on your finger, darling. They don't take notice of that. Trust me. I used to go to clubs. I used to go clubbing twice a week. And I used to also go to this bar. It was like a bistro bar. And we knew it. And we did karaoke in there. We had an absolute scream in there. But there's just a rule that as a woman, you don't accept invitations. It's different. If you want a one night stand, then that's different. Okay. But this guy isn't offering you a one night stand. What this guy is saying to you is come into my space, come into my space and, and clean for me, you know. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what the comments have said. Okay. I make sure I can say goodbye nicely to everyone and go home safely. Yeah, great. I never had problems with this. Often I forgot how I got home the last evening, but I'm glad I managed. Now that is awful. I'm sorry, darling. So you're saying you don't get drunk, but now you're saying you forgot how you got home. That's not good. That's not good, sweetie. Please take care. Take care of yourself because once something happens, you can't undo it. You can't undo
Mhm.
it. And, everyone in the bar will say, can you imagine if you go to this place, to this guy's house and the unthinkable happens, right? The next time you go to the bar, and the police are involved and everything like that, then when the police go to, question the people in the bar, they'd all be like, "Oh, Jack's great. He's always been, he's fine. Yeah, he likes to have a laugh. He likes to chat." And then they would say, "So how was Barley when she came in?" And they'd say, "Oh, well, Barley used to sort of come in on her own, even though she said she got a husband at home, and she likes a drink, and yeah, she likes to have a good time."
People can create a narrative and spin
Mhm,
it a lot. And if
mhm.
if it goes south in the direction for the woman, it's usually not in her favor. So that's
Yeah.
the thing where it could be all in up and up. Like I remember one of my good friends now I met at work, and I thought it was so weird. And she just like asked, like invited me over to her house one day, and I don't know, it was just I kind of felt like it was too much, but she's such a kind person and everything that I was like, you know what? Let me make a friend. Let me, go. And I'm glad I did. But
Mhm,
it wasn't to help her to what it was as a friend to hang out to she just wanted to share her home with me, but that's not what this man is offering. He's asking something of you, right? And it's just weird, like in American culture or society, to ask something of a stranger with nothing
Yeah,
in return. It's lopsided. It's abnormal.
yeah, absolutely.
So
Um,
it's something to be cautious of.
yeah, I think so. Um, and listen, nobody's got any hate for you. No, in here, nobody is saying things just to wind you up or to make you feel lesser than. We're not saying that. We're looking out
Mm-mm.
for you as a person, and we have to also look at the realistic picture here. And you're a young woman, you're still a young woman, you're an attractive woman, you've got an accent. Now, I hate to say this, but some people will see that as a weakness from you, because
Oh,
you don't understand what they're saying. And I'm not saying you
yeah.
don't, but some people will look at it like that. And just think about what what other people will say if the unthinkable happened. Okay, that's probably the best way I can put it, in a very bad way. um right, okay, so let's see, this is interesting. Okay, but there is another woman older than me, so it's like hanging out with friends. I see it like this. Yeah, that's fine, that's great. But is the other woman going to his house? Has he asked the other
Yeah.
woman? I mean, there's a difference. I think it's a lot to do with when you take yourself out of the safety zone. Okay. And it's like, you saying, "Oh, well, I say goodbye to everybody." It makes no difference, darling. If they've got ill will, it doesn't matter. In some cases, um in some cases, they will see that as a weakness. Okay. I hate to be so honest with you, but I think in this instance, I think it's important that you think about what we're all saying to you. Um,
Yeah, and Bridge makes a good point too.
okay,
None of
she's
these people are our friends. They are people
yeah,
you drink with in the bar. And
yeah,
I get that because it's like, I consider you all like online friends, but at the same time, it's like we're not like some of us are more friendly than others. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's like we're strangers on the internet.
yeah, yeah,
So we can't,
absolutely.
yeah.
Um,
And don't get me wrong, I say this as someone who considers you one of my online friends, but it's like we don't really know each other. So it's like you got to think, how much do you really know about this man and like his home? What state
yeah,
is it even in? Because
I mean,
you might come in and he's a hoarder, is stacked from top to bottom. Like who knows?
yeah, I know, you just don't know. And what you have to realize also, Barley, is that when people go to the bar, they go with a certain presentation. Okay, he's not going to go like with like a sign saying, "I've not bathed for a week, I don't clean my
Oh,
teeth, I'm a misogynist, I've
right.
been in prison for such and such a thing." Do you know what I mean? They're going to go with the idea of having a good time. And this
Hmm.
guy is probably like, "Yeah, of course he wants you to come and join him." He's probably had nobody pay him that much mind for a long time you know?
Right.
And I just think you need to think about all the different scenarios that could happen, and just be really careful. Right, so Moosey says, "Your idea of a good time may be way different than the man's idea of a good time." Yep, true, Moosey.
Hmm.
Bridge says, "That lady I lived with for a month last year was in her 50s and would go to the bar every weekend. She would meet friends, and I will tell you, every one of her friends were jerks, even the women." Yeah, you have to think
Wow.
about where you're meeting them.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I've got loads of friends, and I used to have friends that I went out with. They were like my sort of, I mean, we were friends out of that as well. because we all
Mhm.
had young kids, but there was like a group of 4 of us that used to go to the clubs and used to go to the bars. Um, but you you can trust, you have to have a certain amount of trust in people before you take that step away from the club or the pub. And I've lost the stream of what I was going to say. This was when I owned my bar, not when I go out to places, only when I had. Oh, okay. Well, then I don't know what you're talking about. Because this guy that's invited you to go and clean his house wasn't in one of your bars, was he? I also think this. Why he doesn't ask for a maid, exactly. Maybe here in Stowe there are none. It's very different in Stowe. Okay. I sometimes wear my mum's old wedding ring when I go out to try to use as a decoy. As Jan said, men don't care if they think you're married or not. They don't. They don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to the pub tomorrow. I will tell him that my husband doesn't want me to do this. I will say like this. Good. Good. Whew. Yes, I have a photo on community page with them all. Okay. It doesn't mean anything, no sweetness. You know, it really doesn't. None of these people are your friends. Yeah. I agree. But 3%, you have chance to make a friend, or you know what I mean. Chances are small, but there are chances. Why do you want to make a friend with somebody that's always in the bar when you go? It's completely different, you know. It's completely different when if you just meet somebody in a bar, especially think of the situation, Barley, of where you're meeting these people. Okay, so I mean, I met loads of guys in clubs. I met some girls actually in clubs. And right, I'm thinking
Mhm.
about particular. I met this girl. We used to always meet this girl, this same girl, in a club, and she was going out with one of the bouncers, and we got really, really friendly. And then one day she invited us over, and we went over, and she was having a do, I think she was having a party or something. And that was fine. Everything was fine. The bouncer was there, the boyfriend, and everything was fine. Now, we continued this friendship, you know. And
Mhm.
she moved because she broke up with the boyfriend. So I went to see her in her new place. And it suddenly occurred to me that I didn't really like this girl. I didn't really like her.
Really?
There was just something
Well,
there was just something, I don't know, there were just a couple of red flags in the friendship, and
mm,
eventually I pulled apart, pulled away from her. So, I
right.
think, you know, that's a good in a way, that's quite a good example of how, where you meet people is very important, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I like, I guess I'm a indoorsy kinda online type of person, like, I'm not really going out to meet people, so I tried, I found a couple of apps that, like, I met a girl, on there, and we started by just, like, meeting up for coffee and walking around the park. Then
yeah,
we, like, went out, and now we're kinda like friends, right? Like, we just hang
yeah.
out every so often
Where
and
did you meet
check
her?
in with each other.
Where did you meet her?
From an out it was I'm trying to remember. I think it was, oh, I don't know, but I used like a queer, I'm trying to think, what is the name of it? I've deleted it, and I've kinda put it out of my mind because
Oh, so
it
you met
wasn't
her
really.
online? You met her online?
Yeah, I met her. It
Okay.
was an app for, like, just queer people, like, queer women, I think. And, but I think it goes into, like, non-binary and different things. And just long story short, I'm asexual, so that's why I just thought, "Okay, maybe I'll try to find someone that I can relate to on, just
Mhm,
being, like, queer."
mhm.
And Like, it's helpful. Like, she's a cool person, but it's not like we're, like, super, like, best friends or anything, but it's just like Bally said, I never had family, not at all, so I try to replace what I didn't have, and for me, it just got to the point where, like, I moved back, like, and then to my hometown, and then the pandemic happened, so I didn't really know anybody, so I was just like, "Okay, at this point, I need to like find local people to hang out with so that I'm not like in the house. If I want to go do something, I have somebody to do something with. So that's kind of what I was thinking of. Also, the
Yeah.
library has different activities. I love the library for a resource. Maybe you can find community that way or like the local community center or what have you. Like, I don't know what Stowe has, but I'm sure they have activities for like families and different things where it might not be exactly what you're looking for, but, like, if you keep looking around to where you see postings for just community activities, you should be able to find places where you can go and, like, meet people.
Yeah. That was what I was gonna move on to because I don't want this all to be negative for Bali. Um, what I want to what I want to say is, you know, it's difficult because right, one of my daughter's friends, um she couldn't meet a man. She just couldn't meet him. She tried online dating and everything, and all her friends, including my daughter, they all got married and they all had kids. And this poor friend who's very good looking, beautiful girl, just couldn't get herself a boyfriend. And the main reason
Mhm,
couldn't find herself, well, she could find boyfriends, but she always chose the wrong ones. She always
mhm.
and, she found them in clubs and things like that. Um, and the main reason she couldn't really meet somebody is because she was a beauty, therapist. And, so made most of her clients were all females, and she just couldn't meet a guy. Anyway, long story
Right.
short, she finally, at the age of 40 found herself did online dating and found a guy.
Mhm.
They're now happily married. She's had twins, and, life is sorted itself
Lovely.
out. Um,
Yeah.
and I think so I do believe in online dating, and I think if I was, younger and going through dating, I would possibly look at that.
Listen, Jan, I see apps for older people too.
Yeah.
It was called like Date Your Age and like
Yeah, but
they're
I don't want that. I
everybody's
don't want some
online.
old crony in my house. No.
You don't
Um,
want to what?
some old crony in my house. Right. Um, right, okay, we need to keep addressing this, okay. Barley, you never had family, not at all, so I tried to replace what I didn't have. Okay, so you're trying to find a new mum and dad?
You
Okay.
know what? People do that. Like, I came across a show, like a reality show or something like that, that was talking about adults that get adopted, like because they don't have family. So there's like communities of like Facebook groups or what have you that do that kind of thing.
What? I'm sorry,
And
I've lost
I
you.
don't care
I've
how
lost
old
you.
I don't care how old you are. Sometimes you still need like authority figure or not authority figure, but like
So,
a mom
Barley, is that
figure
what
or
you're
aunt.
looking for? Barley, is that what you're looking for? Are you looking for somebody to replace your parents? Because it doesn't sound like going into a pub on your own is the right place to be looking, darling. You know?
Maybe you can volunteer at a senior home or a senior community.
I've lost you again. What did you say? Volunteer to
Oh, I
see?
was at a,
What?
maybe she can volunteer at a senior community. Like if she
Oh,
wants to be
yes.
around older people. Yeah.
Yes.
Like you can go in and like play games with them or just, keep them company, talk and do whatever.
Mhm. Edna, I get you. You had this experience also that I'm having now, and I never had this situation. I lose my identity and personality. This is why I do YouTube. I don't really understand what you're saying there.
I think
Uh,
she understands where she's like out of her element in a sense. Because I can imagine like being in Ohio, like I'm in St. Louis, and I could just imagine like it would be a big change for me. And her coming from Europe or Thailand, that's that's a huge culture shock. Like I get it,
yeah,
but at the same time, it's like you have to. Well, I'm not saying what you have to do, but what I've done is just kind of like realize that I'm not the same person that I was last year or the year before, you know? So, and I've changed as I've gotten older. Like I've had new experiences. My mind has changed, different things. You know, we all went through a pandemic. That's changed us in different ways.
yeah,
So it's not like I mean, life has changed. So we just have to keep up with it and like
yeah.
learn who we are as we grow. Like I'm realizing that because I thought I when I was a child, I had a very strong sense of myself. And like now at 36, I'm like, who the hell am I? So I totally get where, like I'm like figuring out like what I like again, like what are my hobbies? Because I'm like I said, I moved here, like I used to sew, but I don't have a sewing machine anymore, or different things. Like I got into gardening, that was fun for a minute, but it didn't really stick. So I'm just trying new things. Like just pick up a hobby. Like I get YouTube being a hobby, and
Mm.
Girl World isn't the healthiest hobby, but like I can't. I'm not judging or anything, but it's like maybe you can like find something else that you enjoy with YouTube. I try to do mindfulness with my little videos,
I
so
still want to
I
get
don't
back
know, like
to what Barley said
yeah,
about
sorry.
she didn't have family, and that's why, she's looking to replace that, because I can't understand that at all. Because I had no family. I was
Hmm,
literally brought up in a children's home with hundreds of other kids. Well, not hundreds, but a bunch of other kids. So
right.
I don't see that as a reason. I
So
don't
what have you
see
done,
that.
Jan? Because you've
I've
created a beautiful
never
family too.
ever gone out looking for, a father figure, a
Okay.
or a mother figure. No. But then I acknowledge that other people, um, act differently, and I know, there's so many blooming people that, think they know it all and say, "Oh, well, all kids that are brought up in homes, they do this or they do that," or, and it's crap. No two individuals are the same, and, yes, I'm just interested in um in why Barley thinks that going out to a pub on her own has got anything to do with not having a family, because I thought you did have a family. I know they weren't particularly good to you, but I understood that you did have a family, you did have a mother, and you did have a father, which is something that I didn't have. So, right, okay, I truly suffer. I think I could be back with my life in the restaurant that is all still there, but I love Steve also, and I am having fun here, but I think daily about being in my restaurant. I think maybe, Barley, you should consider counselling. I think it sounds as if you do need to speak to somebody in order to move on from your past. Um, I think you need to look at each day as a new day and not a day where you're still burdened by your upbringing. That's what I would say. I'm not a counselor, but that's what I would say as somebody who I think it would do you good. Maybe I'm talking out of place here, but I think it would do you
I
good
hear what you're
in the
saying, Jan,
moment.
and I agree. Yeah.
Y try and live in the moment. You can't keep, going back about, "Yeah, but I didn't have this as a child, and, I suffered that as a child, and I did this as a child." You're not a child anymore, darling. You're an adult woman, and you're never gonna find what you feel that you missed out, as a child. You're not going to find that when you're 30 years of age, or, you know, when you're adult. You have to sort of, and I'm not saying this in a mean way, but I do believe that you need to grow up. And I'm not saying that in a nasty way. I think you have to acknowledge that you're no longer that child that suffered. You know, you're now an adult person who
But the
has
thing is,
control
it's
of their
like
life.
it could be disorienting because it's like if
Yeah,
you never process those emotions, you don't feel like the adult that you are. I think what happens is like you have those feelings and you never really progress. You just kind of I think you cover
yeah,
them up. I don't know. I can't, but what I would what I would say is like there's treatments, there's different modalities of therapy and exercises and practices you can do, journaling, and this mindfulness techniques, things like that that you
yeah,
can do to process those emotions and those situations and whatever that you've been through, so that you're not still dealing with that trauma as you try to like adjust to being in Ohio and like finding community in Ohio. Because I understand what she's saying where she doesn't have the family, like, and it might not be that she's trying to find a replacement mom or what have you, but like I like my older friend, the friend that I met who invited me to her house, she's older. Like she's not quite old enough to be my mom, but it's like she would be kind of like Edna, I'm telling you, like not in so many words, but like I'm sharing this from experience from X, Y, and Z. So I get how helpful those relationships are. So, and I agree, it's just that it's difficult to go into healthy relationships with that if you're still dealing with the trauma of the past.
yeah. At some point, you know, we have to move on. And I mean, there were things that happened to me when I left the home that, um, you know, it wasn't easy, but
Hmm.
I can't spend my life looking at the things that happened when I was a child and also as a young adult, because otherwise you just live in the past all the time and you're never going to be happy. I think I think if you went to therapy, Barley, and you could possibly be given treatment which is CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And part of that, I've had that, and part of that is to see yourself in the third person. Okay, I hope this makes sense. You see yourself,
Hmm.
you know, as a third person, and as that third person, you're stepping away from that situation that you were in. So that could be when you were a child, that could be you know, when you're in an abusive relationship. But
Because
I
the
think
point
they
is to
try
get
and go back as far as possible, and then what you do in that third person is you make things right. So you look at yourself in that instance and you say to yourself, and you know, you have to accept what happened to you. And in
Mhm,
cognitive therapy, you can change the way you see yourself. You see that little girl that was traumatized. Trust me, I was traumatized forever and ever, okay, as a child and also as an adult. Hence why
mhm,
I've got BPD, because that comes from trauma. Now, with that comes PTSD, okay? Now,
mhm,
the main thing to realize, Barley, is that your mind, it's all mind over matter. It really is. Okay. Now, if you go to therapy, the therapist will teach you how to use your mind, how to change your thought processes. And I think,
mhm.
because I think at the moment, you're still very much in the past. You're still, you know, well, I had such a rotten time when I was a kid. This is why I want to enjoy myself now. Take your time, girlie. You know, you're not just going to get up in the morning and everything's hunky dory. It takes time. And as Bridget says, you have to stop comparing yourself to others. Was that aimed at Barley or was that aimed at me? um, because that's
It's
another
good for
thing.
anybody.
I never compare myself to anybody. I've always accepted that I am an original. I was an original when I was born, and my mother just gave me away like I was a piece of shit. That's what happened to me. Okay. I never spent time thinking about that. I never disliked her for that. Okay. It's like, but then as an adult, and after, the therapy I've been through and everything, and
Mhm.
the only thing I will say, I mean, I've been like when I was married the first time, he hated my mum, and I went through a period of wanting to see her for whatever reason. I don't know. I just had a
Oh,
child. I thought I want to see her, so I tracked her
yeah,
down
that
and
makes
I
sense.
saw her, and my partner at the time was so vile and said things that, "Oh, I wouldn't spit on her in the street," and things like that, and that really
Oh, I'm
hurt
sorry.
me. That really hurt me because I never had any hatred towards her. See, the mind is a really
Mhm,
weird thing. But now that I'm older, I don't hate her, but I don't like her. I don't like her
mhm,
from taking my identity, from not giving me half of who I am, if that makes sense, because
mm,
I'm biracial and I
mhm,
really, really dislike her. I'm not going to say hate because hate's a strong word, but I really dislike her for doing that to me and making me grow up in a country where I was never going to be accepted. So, Barley, you're not the only one that has suffered in, traumas and everything, but you do need to get help for it. And the help comes in being able to move on, and being able
mhm.
to uh process those feelings when they come and lock them away. You need to have a box in the back of your head where all that past shit and trauma gets put into. You can't live that life with that trauma. Sorry, Edna, what do you want to say?
I would, kind of approach it in a different way. Like, when you say your mom discarded you like a piece of trash, like, that really stings because I would try to think of it as in my mom knew that she didn't have the capacity to care for me the way that she would've that she thought that I needed, and she was trying to give me a better life, by putting you know, putting me in someone else's care that is more capable maybe. It's like also I would say, um, therapy's hard, and if
Mm,
that's too hard of a first step, maybe you can look into, like, medication, or, like, look at, maybe some, like Alcoholic Anonymous or, like, some other kind of program that's, like, more laid out, because in my experience with therapy, it's like you almost have to know what you need to work on,
mhm,
which, I mean, you know what your problems are, so this kinda like or issues or whatever. So that's part of it, but you're working with a therapist, but it might be a little loose. If you don't have a big concept of, like, the path that you're on. And if you go to, like, I don't know if you're a believer or whatever, like, there are different programs that are, like, mapped out, laid out to where each step and
yeah.
process it and go through it that way, and that might be a better first step. Oh, you take Wellbutrin. How do you has it been a well, I don't wanna get into, like, your percentage, but so that should be helpful.
Yeah. I like that, Moosey. That's lovely. And
Yeah.
I've had to set my box of crap by the side of the roads many times throughout my life, and not
Mhm.
just my childhood. And I think that's what Bali needs to do. And I, it's sad, but I'd like to ask actually, Bali, um, have you ever had therapy of any kind? Have you ever asked for therapy? Because I do think that would definitely help you, if only to change your train of thought, because it is really important to understand how the mind works. And
Mhm.
I think probably because I've had therapy for so long, I do understand it. But also, there are some amazing books out there. I don't know if you like reading, but there's a book about cognitive therapy. So while you're waiting to be seen by a therapist, you can always read a book on it because it's amazing. Cognitive therapy, a lot of the time, it's about journaling. Have you
Okay.
have you started that, Edna? Have they asked you to do any journaling?
But she hasn't asked me to do any, to be completely honest with you, I don't know if I was really in the state to be, like, receptive. I think she's still trying to get to know me, like, we're getting there. It's been a long process, or it's like it's been a long process. But I think also I didn't understand, like, how long recovery takes. Like,
Mhm,
this isn't something that just is resolved in a couple of weeks. Like, it takes months to years in some instances. And I don't think I maybe had like a understanding of like how you really like it takes time. Like you didn't get all this trauma all at once, right?
no,
Like it compound like Jen shared, you have one disorder, you have one condition and it compounds upon itself. And I think
mhm,
that's how like the trauma works, where it's like we get re-traumatized just living life. And you have to constantly be processing these emotions and kind of working through it to keep
mm,
on top of it.
yeah, absolutely. But I do
Oh, so
feel,
journaling. I did buy a journal, but I have a hard time like focusing and sitting down and centering myself to do it. So
so
I mine like me-
maybe instead of
huh?
actually journaling, you should give yourself a time in the day, because I think you need to do it quite regularly, where
Mhm.
you sit down and you watch somebody like this doctor who will explain to
Yeah.
you certain things, and give yourself, say, I don't know, half an hour a day where you do research. Because it's like
Mhm.
with so many things, once you know about something, once you educate yourself about something, it becomes
That's
clearer in
power.
your mind.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, we've gone for an hour and a half now, and I think, I'm getting tired now. It's getting on for midnight, and I don't really want to do this narcissist thing now. I think we can save that for next Wednesday. What do you think, Edna?
Absolutely. We have plenty of narcissists to talk about.
Yeah.
I think this was
Um,
a very good conversation.
it
I enjoyed
was,
it.
but I don't want Bali to feel that it's all like doom and gloom. I want Bali to realize that there are people out there, even people here in England, that care about you and will advise you and will listen to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, But I think, it's like with everything, darling, you've got to try and help yourself as well, okay? If I hear that you've gone to this guy's house, there's gonna be trouble, okay?
I
There's gonna
think
be
I think
trouble.
Valley wouldn't dare. She's gonna tell him that Steve says no. It's
Yeah,
it's it's not happening. Yeah.
yeah. Just tell him,
I'm glad that you shared, Valley. I hope you take this as just us sharing our love with you, that we want to keep you safe.
yeah,
And we don't want to, yeah, we want to keep seeing you on YouTube.
yes. We don't want you coming on with another trauma, and I'm not saying
Mm-mm.
that flippantly. You just have to be careful, darling, there's not everyone has good intentions, put it that way. All right. So, and you're always welcome to come in. I've been trying to pop in when you go live and just to say hi to you. But you keep your chin up, girly. And see what I want before next Wednesday. I want you to at least try and find some sort of therapy. I think it'll definitely help you. All right. Edna, thanks so much, sweetie. You're an absolute sweetheart for coming in.
Thank
Always
you.
enjoy having you in. We've had a good old chat, really. So next week, let's talk narcissism, shall we? I think that's quite a good idea. We can focus in on that.
Yes.
So I'll see you on Friday, everybody. And once again, Edna, thanks so much. You're a darling. And everyone, you take care of yourselves out there. It's a rotten old world. Just take care of yourselves, all right? And I'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye for now.